Hey, all right. Welcome back to Raff's Brain, a show about things that are interesting to me. I am your host, Rob Raffety. It's time for another edition of Riffin with Raff. This is my interview segment of the Raff's Brain podcast, where I get to connect with old friends, people who inspire me, and catch up and just shoot the breeze and capture that for the world to hear. And today I'm so excited to introduce the Raff's Brain audience, all the tens of you in my listening and viewing audience, to an old friend of mine, old school acquaintance and friend from the work days back here in DC, who now lives out in the hinterland, flyover America. My good old friend, videographer, creative extraordinaire, Charles Blatz. Mr.
Oh,
Blatz, it's great to see you again, buddy. Welcome back. Welcome to the show.
yeah, great to see you again, Rob. How many years has it been?
Let's actually count that back because um, I left George Mason where we met in 2017, but you had been but before that you had left. You were on the video team there for a little while.
Mhm.
You went to the private sector. You were doing all the 3D, 360 camera, 3D printing. You were like a real visionary on some of this stuff back in the mid teens of the 20 teens. Is that what they're called? 20 teens, like 2010 to 2014 time frames, what I would think. Does that sound right? When did you end up like busting out of George Mason? And you know what, private sector for a little bit. Was that like 2013, 2014 time frame, 2015 maybe?
October of 2017.
17. Okay. So it was right about the same time that I left, and we kept in touch online a little bit, but then you busted out and you haven't lived in DC for quite some time, I don't believe.
Yeah, I moved there at the beginning of the year in 2012, and then I moved out in 2022.
Wow. You went out so you were here during the COVID times.
Yeah, it sucked.
It was brutal, dude. It was brutal. And a lot of people did make pretty radical transformations. Where are you calling from today? What is this picturesque background? It has the appearance of like a green screen, but I know it's not. It's a real window I'm looking at right behind me right there. That's
Yeah,
a
my new house. It's a
Your
19.
new house.
Yeah,
All right, this is what we're going to talk about on the show today, folks. Blatz is a Are you a millennial?
I'm a millennial. Yeah,
Okay, I'm a Gen X, so we can get along. We can chat a little bit.
I,
What's exciting to me is when I see a young man bust out of Dodge, and next time I reconnect with him, he's sitting in a house that he himself owns. That is a remarkable journey. I want to hear about this, my friend. And you said Cleveland, outside of Cleveland or something, is that right?
yeah. I live in Euclid, Cleveland, and yeah, it's been here for about 2 years. So.
Now, are you from that area originally? Do you have any ties or connections at all to Ohio?
Other than my ex-girlfriend, no ties to Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So they
okay.
moved here when we were together, and then we broke up. And by that time, I had a really good job that I liked in IT. I had just been promoted to system admin, so I decided to stay, and it's been great. So prior to doing this, I was had my own company, and then when I left, I decided that I needed to find a new career, and so I'd been studying for IT. So Cleveland's been pretty good to me as far as helping me transition to a new career in IT. So I stayed, and it's been very rewarding. I think the big thing about living in DC is you realize that the cost of living is just extremely high. There aren't a lot of opportunities for most people to own a home. So yeah, when I moved to Cleveland and I talked to some people and heard the kind of prices they were paying for pretty nice homes, I was shocked and wanted to learn more. So here I am now.
Have you ever seen the hastily made Cleveland tourism videos?
Yeah, I could definitely relate. You know, but at the same time, it's got that sort of, Midwest hometown vibe where people like to be friends and there's not sort of that Machiavellian tone in the workplace, which I like. So there are, certain trade-offs. I'd say the biggest trade-off is it's extremely cold right now. I think it's going to be 0 next week. So definitely not looking forward to that. And
Wow.
the plus side to my house, it's only 5 minutes from the office. So even during a snowstorm, I can get there pretty easily. It's just two exits. So Yeah, I think that was the thing that really drew me to this city, not the cold weather, just the fact that there was an opportunity for people to still explore the American dream and, to own a home, to, get something that lasts, not just be renting forever. And I
Yeah,
just,
that's good, man. I'm proud of you. I'm excited to hear this. Now, I want the reason I mentioned the hastily made tourism video is there's a line in one of those, there's two of those. I'll drop them in the show notes. If you haven't seen these folks, they're disparaging and they're very hilarious and they're ripping on just the idea of Cleveland as a city and it's sort of look, I'm a Pittsburgh guy, I'm a West Virginia guy. Really, I'm not a Pittsburgh guy. I pretend to be a Pittsburgh guy. So, Pittsburgh likes to have a rivalry with Cleveland. Everyone's got someone they look down upon and make fun of and that sort of thing. I'm not into that. The older you get, the more you realize how kind of silly and absurd that is. And I have to confess, I've never really spent much time in Cleveland. I may have visited once, maybe to go to the campus of like Case Western for a Western Reserve for a conference or something. But
Mhm.
I have very little to say negative about Cleveland with that's informed. It's all just, culture. Like, ooh, we gotta hate Cleveland because they're the bad guys. They're the mistake on the lake or whatever. But I'll tell you, listen, I'm not going, I'm not here to go down that path with you. If anything, I want to come out there and visit you sometime, and I want to hear about how a single guy working in IT is able to, scrape together some cash and put down money. And here's where that line comes in. It's like you can buy a home for the price of a VCR. I
Yep.
don't believe it's that inexpensive, but I think in our text messages you were saying you landed a pretty sweet deal. So tell me about, first of all, how did you find the home? What resources did you use? And then like walk me through the process. Did you have a lot of different homes you were looking at? Or did you see this one and be like, man, that's it. I gotta have it. And you kind of have a vision. I want to walk through the whole process.
I saw
All
when I
right.
decided that this was the home I wanted.
Did you have an agent? Did you have like a real estate agent you reached out to, and how'd that
I
process go?
used Zillow, so it was pretty simple, honestly. Not to be a plug for Zillow, but Zillow was great.
Yes.
All my customer needs, and it was very snappy and responsive.
Dude, I love it. I'm gonna get Zillow to sponsor this episode. That'll be great.
So it's sponsored by Zillow, the easy way to buy. The
Yeah.
basic it was pretty simple. I mean, you can make inquiries on the app. I went through a few different agents on the app itself until I found someone who seemed like the type of person I could work with. And but yeah, it was pretty simple. You just schedule a showing, and so yeah, the property was listed for $50,000, but after all negotiating and everything, we got the price down to $43,000. So
Oh, dude, 43,000. Okay, give me like the layout of the house. Like I seen the outside
yeah,
exterior shot. Talk me through it.
yeah. So it's a 1,900 square foot property, and it's on a 6,000 square foot. Well, it's a 1,900 square foot house on a 6,000 square foot property. So it's enough space for one guy to get by. And yeah, it's about 5 minutes from work. The house, it's a three-bedroom, one bath, but I actually discovered that one of my closets had a bathroom in it. And I discovered rain, so I'm just going to drop a toilet in there, and then it'll be a three-bedroom, two-bath. Originally, I was thinking it would require putting in new drainage, for the toilet, but it sounds like it's just a matter of putting on a new, top piece and then putting on a wax ring and dropping in a toilet. So that's yeah. So I enjoy carpentry and DIY projects. So this home to me felt like a good balance between being a fixer upper that I could put sweat equity into, but also something that was well done well enough that it wouldn't be a huge hassle getting ready to live in. So I bought the house in November and moved in December because my lease was ending at the end of December, January 1st or whatever. So yeah, it was a pretty quick process, honestly, and thankfully I've had a good credit score. Don't have any other debt, so it was really easy to get approved for this. They were willing to approve me for a much larger number, but I really wanted something that was below my means and something below my means and something that I could always afford. And so yeah, the mortgage payment is really reasonable, and it gives me the opportunity to put more money into it every month to pay it off quickly. But that was my goal. I didn't really want to be in debt for the rest of my life. So
Why
that
don't you want to be in debt for the rest of your life, Charles? Come on, join the crew, man. That's the way to go.
nah, well, that was the thing I didn't like about DC, man. So many people there, like they're making 50 or 60K and they've got tons of credit card debt and they go out all the time and just I don't know, it's a tough way to live. So, after I left DC, I sort of started a journey of, being debt free and, making sure I set aside money and, didn't finance a car, just paid for a car in cash. I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey. I don't know if
Dave
you've,
Ramsey. I was gonna bring that up.
yeah,
I've seen his clips. There's a lot of tension between Dave Ramsey and the younger set. People don't like his suggestions. They say like, they don't want to live frugally and his he's unrealistic and that the economy is so screwed up that he just doesn't understand. It sounds like his advice has worked pretty well for you though.
no, yeah, he's a character. I mean, he's definitely wrong on a lot of things, and he's not, perfect, financial advisor. I think he also gets a lot of sponsors from, property companies or something like that. So I think some of his sponsors might skew his recommendations, but for the most part, yeah, I think, the principles of, living beneath your means and, not living on high interest credit cards and that sort of thing definitely help. He doesn't really like Bitcoin, I think, and I don't think he likes. I'm not sure if he likes owning gold. He mostly, but anyway, I appreciated his advice. All the other guy is a financial audit with what's his name? The financial audit guy. Uh,
It's okay. You don't have to know.
oh, he's great. I'm sure the tens of viewers who listen to this podcast have heard of financial audit, but he's another guy who actually goes through people's banking statements and they're basically their whole financial profile and looks at all their debts and their income and gives them recommendations. And it's a pretty entertaining show because he actually does a deeper dive than Dave Ramsey into it.
Hey,
But yeah,
how
so
how old is the house that you're in?
it is a 1910. So I guess it's what 115 years old. In fact,
Wow.
really interesting stuff in the wall. Let me see if I can find it. 1 second.
So this is an old house. Do you think it's haunted? Have you had any crazy sounds, bumps in the night? Any visions or visitors there?
Other than people whispering, "Get out," it's been pretty chill. But I found this in the wall actually. I was knocking out the fireplace, and this is, I think, a phone bill from 1930.
Wow.
Yeah.
$2.75.
Hey, $2 and yeah, July 25th, 1931. He paid $2.75. I also found a report card from the 1930s, and it was like all C's and F's. So I think the kid like threw it in the fireplace so his mom and dad wouldn't whip him or something. That was kind of crazy. And then I found like a Pope Pius, like postcard, a bunch of other random stuff.
Blatz, please. I will send you this if you don't want to do it. Get an old picture frame from from a
Oh
secondhand store.
yeah,
That's gotta go on the wall, baby. That's
yeah.
gotta go on the wall.
Frame this. Yeah, there. It's really cool. It's a piece of history. And I actually looked up the guy who owned the house back then. I guess he retired on the railroad, but yeah, it's really cool. I've always been a fan of nostalgia and old stuff, and so peeling back the layers of this house, you discover a lot of really cool stuff. And I'm not really. This is my first home improvement project, so I have a lot to learn, but I really appreciate the woodwork most of all, and that was the number one thing I fell in love with when I got here. I, walked in and I, discovered that there's this really beautiful old gas fireplace and this, shelving and mirrored doors, all still, the original finish, and it just felt like this house needed some love to bring it back to its original cosmetic condition. So I think that'll be the challenge is preserving the original woodwork while also coming up with a more modern theme that is sellable. And so I
So
think
your
that'll
goal is to sell it at some point or to maybe rent it or like walk
yeah.
me through that and that mindset.
Part of me thinks that if I could get this whole place in good working order, then I could possibly turn the basement into an apartment and then live down there and have tenants upstairs. That way, because actually I discovered outside the basement there's a door. So going up the stairs, so if I lived in the basement, essentially you could separate the two levels of the house and never have to interact. But I think that would be a good opportunity to basically, get a few tenants maybe upstairs to pay the mortgage. I mean, granted, it's easier said than done. It can be risky having tenants. You want to make sure you know who you're bringing into your home. But I could see that being the next step. But I think, yeah, maybe I should just put it back. Maybe I should just list it for sale again right now and see what happens. Maybe I
Dude,
should.
you could be a landlord soon, or you could be a flipper. You could be you could now. I'm like, I would say two things. It sounds like you have a little bit of an emotional tie. This is your first home, so it's
Yeah.
good. I get super like connected to property, to physical objects. I have a tough time selling things. So like, even the idea of selling, a house or like comic books or things like that, I just get a tough time because I have some sort of an association with it. You might have that, sounds like too,
Mhm.
but it's
Well,
interesting, man. It's just an interesting world, you know.
oh yeah. I try and let go of things after moving a few times. That was one thing I had to stop doing is holding on to nostalgic items. I used to hold on to everything like ticket stubs, receipts,
Yeah.
everything. So, but yeah, I think that there are a lot of ways I could, move forward with this place. I think for now, though, the biggest benefit to this place is it's only 5 minutes from work. So yeah, I think that's pretty hard to beat.
So you say you're in it's the neighborhood called Euclid, is that right?
Yeah, Euclid.
What now geographically? Keep in mind, I know nothing about
Uh,
Cleveland.
so it's on the lake. So
Whoa, you're on the lake.
yeah,
Can
so
you actually recreate on that lake?
yeah, I mean, granted, it's a few blocks from the lake, but yeah, my old place, I was, which I'm a mile away from, I would walk to the beach during the summer, so I can't wait for the warm weather. And yeah, it's a huge lake. I mean, it looks like an ocean. I grew up on a lake, but this goes all the way to Canada, and it stretches, to Detroit if you look to the left, and you know, it's a huge lake. It makes me want to get a boat. So I'm pretty close to there, and it's sort of northeast as you go along the water line. So I'm near Euclid Pier, which is really beautiful. Back in the day, they had a Ferris wheel and a whole amusement park. They actually had a lot of good affordable housing in this trailer park there, but eminent domain recently took that away. Unfortunately, they decided to turn it into a green space, which I don't know if I would do because it seemed like they should just fix up the trailer park. But anyway, there's a lot of really cool stuff in Cleveland that I've seen so far, and the beach is one of the things that I really enjoy, especially having a dog. I like to take her to the beach, and it's apparently one. I think we have more fresh water here than anywhere else in the world, so it's kind of cool.
Great, man. What about your neighbors or the neighborhood? Is it populated? A lot of empty homes? Are things kind of dilapidated? What's the state of the Euclid neighborhood you're in there?
Well, so, my street in particular, there are a couple homes that aren't currently occupied, but I've met the neighbors and they're really nice. A lot of Italians, and it was, originally a very Italian Irish neighborhood. And I'm actually very close to the arts district. So a few blocks from my house, there's the arts district, which is home to the Beachland Ballroom. So that's actually one of the larger rock and roll venues in Cleveland. So if you're a band and you're getting booked for a place in Cleveland, you're either going to the Grog Shop in Cleveland Heights or you're going to the Beachland Ballroom. So it's actually a really nice establishment. There's a huge stage. I saw a really great Allman Brothers cover band there and a few really good European bands on tour. So it's a happening spot. And there was the Cleveland Arts Fest that happened on that street. They shut down the whole street, and there were a lot of really nice vendors. So I live in sort of the artsy neighborhood. There's a lot of really cool stuff there, like a welder who does large metal sculptures. So I like my neighborhood. It's close to enough things, and it's not as congested as downtown. And I don't get a lot of foot traffic through my neighborhood, which is kind of nice when I'm at work.
This is fascinating, man. I'm really intrigued. I want to come visit. I think it's going to be a follow-up episode. Next time we record an episode of Raff's Brain with Charles, it'll be on location from Euclid, Cleveland, and we'll have a great time and we'll get to hang out a little bit more. For now, I'm it's really just great reconnecting with you and seeing you progress through life and make these big decisions. I don't know that I ever would have gotten a home if it wasn't for me, getting married, that my wife was, much more, I guess, focused on like an adult life than I
Mhm.
was. I figured I'd be renting forever in the DC area. So, I
Yeah.
mean, just the process. Oh, was there any like first home buyer programs that you used, or was it just straight up go to the bank, get a mortgage, and go to town?
Yeah, I did qualify for a first-time home buyer grant, which did subtract. They basically, yeah, they provided sort of a grant, which took a little bit of money off my down payment, so that was nice. And yeah, I have a really good credit score as well. So it made the process pretty easy. I've, with no, credit utilization ratio really, and all my accounts in good standing, it made the process really easy. But yeah, I think that there are a lot of programs. In fact, they offer an option to only do, 3% down for a lot of first-time home buyers. So for a lot of people who are worried about closing costs, that's an option that people, pursue as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it was pretty straightforward. The person I worked with was pretty down to earth. I was considering using Wells Fargo, but I found a really good home loan specialist in my area who made the process pretty simple. I mean, I'm pretty dumb when it comes to this stuff, so I kind of approached it from that way and just was like, look, I really don't know what I'm doing at all. So please guide me through this. I'm sorry if I ask stupid questions, but he was really friendly and it kind of took the edge off the home buying process, not being all self-conscious about what I don't know. So,
Hey man, one last thing as we're thinking about this. I think you have an extraordinary story. You have a unique voice. You're an interesting character. You're clearly passionate about where you live. If I could encourage you to like document some of the things you're experiencing, maybe even like pre and post photos or videos of the renovations that you undergo. I know I'm making work for you. You know, it's not like you have other things to do with your life, but anyway, I think there's something out there. There's like an audience for someone to be like, hey man, I'm a young man who just purchased a crazy cheap, inexpensive but fixer upper type home, and I'm going to add a toilet. And you have like a vision for it, and it just
mhm.
seems it's like a really interesting story. I think you could tell that story and maybe inspire other people who feel there's a little bit of I don't know if it's a negativity or a mindset where people are like, oh, I'll never own a home, I'll never have an opportunity. It requires transformation. Maybe they got to move out and push their comfort zone, do what you did, like get into an area they don't even have much familiarity or roots in, but you
Mhm.
start your own thing. It's like I could see you being a real force for good in Cleveland in the next 5, 10, 20 years, where you can run for mayor.
Well, if you want to follow my progress on the home, you can check out my Instagram, which is called Somethang. It's SUMTHANGH. You'll see a profile. I've only posted one photo of my progress painting the house, but I imagine I'll continue posting more progress. One thing I am currently doing is restanding all the floors, so I'll definitely post that project as I go.
Blatz. I didn't even know you were doing that. Let me get this down again. It was SUMTHANG. It's very hip.
Yeah, S U M
GH.
T H A N GH. Something.
Something H with a GH at the end.
Something. Thing.
Something.
Something.
Something. Dude, please keep documenting and share stories about the items that you find. Take pictures of
Oh,
those, frame those. That is
yeah.
cool. That's the basis. Dude, you could have retreats, storytelling retreats. People come back there and like grab artifacts and they have to tell stories about them and things. So many awesome things. Do you have a little backyard? We could have a little bonfire or in your
Oh, yeah.
dog. What's your dog's name?
Her name is Ruby. Let me show her to the folks at home.
I saw a picture earlier. She's a little intimidating. Like a wolf, man. It's like a wolf
Yeah.
dog.
She's my little Ruby.
That's good to have. Hey, how's the crime? Like, would this dog like attack someone if they try to mess with you?
She's useless. I
Okay.
think a big dog. She would lick them and try to make friends and would be useless. But that's okay. I won't. I'll forgive her for that. I really appreciate the fact that she's good with other people, though. How's Conan doing, by the way?
Conan's great, folks. It's just such a nice thing. Conan had a toe surgery operation. I've mentioned this in other streams of the Raff's Brain podcast. My loyal listeners will know that Conan's 14 years old.
Wow.
So he's definitely past his expiration date, but he's still got a lot of energy. He's still getting
Oh, yeah.
along pretty well. He
That's
definitely shows his age, but he recently had his biggest trauma. It was some growth that was just nasty on his toe. It was really hurting him, and they had to have a surgery to remove that. He was wearing the cone of shame for about 3 weeks or so. That was terrible, but he's back to his old self. I mean, we're very fortunate to have had him as long as we have, and knock on wood, he'll still be with us for a while. But
I
it's
think.
tough. You got to come to that reality at some point. You realize the end is at some point going to happen. Hopefully, you just wake up one day and he's gone off to doggy heaven over the rainbow bridge or whatever they say, and it's a peaceful thing. and there wasn't, it doesn't require a lot of pain and suffering. That's what I worry about is, you talk about euthanasia and you got to get it's a lot, man. It's a lot to think about. I don't want to end this show on a sour note, but thanks for asking. Conan's doing really well.
Good.
What's your dog's name again?
Her name is Ruby,
And
and she
what's that come from?
yeah. Well, I named her. It was a friend of ours' dog, and when she was a puppy, she had sort of a reddish brown fur, and in the middle of her forehead, she has this little white dot that sort of looks like a diamond. So I put the two together, and I was like, "Let's name her Ruby." And everybody was like, "Oh, Ruby, that's a nice name." But
It's a
yeah,
great
her
name.
mother's a husky, and her father's an Australian Shepherd. She's about 2 years old, and yeah, she's a really good friend, very down to earth. I can take her to family gatherings, and everyone's like, "Oh, your dog is so well behaved and polite," and so I really appreciate that. And
Yeah,
it's
Conan's the opposite of that. That's the problem. That dude just he tackles children, he bites people. Dude, it's out of
shoot
control.
too. Time that was funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but at this backyard, that's I think the number one thing that puts a smile on my face after getting this place is finally giving Ruby a huge backyard to run around and take little poops in and stuff.
Do you have an electric fence or something like that, or is it just going to be like it's okay to let dogs run around out there?
I currently just have a chain link fence, but I'm probably going to get some chickens in the spring. I'll keep you posted on that. I haven't.
Wow, dude, you've got to document this. This is a huge thing. You could be the chicken man of Euclid, Cleveland. You could be selling eggs on the side. You have a whole side hustle. You get a food truck, you cook up some scrambled eggs and chuck them out to neighbors. There's so many opportunities, man. I'm so happy for you. I'm
Yeah,
so happy for you, dude. I can't wait to come visit. I don't know when that'll be, but it's going to happen. It's on my agenda and
well, you're
it'll be great.
always welcome. I've got plenty of places to crash in the house, got a couch and plenty of spare bedrooms. And I would recommend you come in the springtime. That'll give me some time to clean things up, or the summer. So you're always
Like maybe like in 5 years I'll come visit. It'll be really fully ready.
yeah. Maybe by then I'll feel like I can have guests. But you'll have to check out the Cleveland Guardians or the Cleveland Browns while you're here. They actually Guardians had a really good season. I heard that they played against the Yankees, and up until that point they were doing really well. It was almost like the movie. What was that?
Major League. Oh
Yeah,
man, what a classic. That's my favorite sports movie of all time.
yeah. It
It's a,
felt like Major League season for the Guardians.
that's
So
amazing. Listen, dude, we're gonna wrap this show up. This has been a great episode of Riffin with Raff. Thank you for joining me. Charles Blatz, the chicken dog home fixer upper financial guru of Euclid, Cleveland. We got to come up with some title there, but check him out at something on Instagram. Hit him up, follow him. He's going to do great work, and I'm going to visit you again, my friend, at some point soon. So thanks for being here. Take it easy. See you next time, everybody.
thanks, Rob.
Bye bye.
Bye.